I'm going to read out of this book, page 77, because today is 7/7. A radical teaching that does not recognize continuity of essence in human beings in this life or beyond it, but that nonetheless points to enlightenment beyond any thinkable idea of being or individuality. The self has become an ambiguous, even nebulous object. And this, on the top of the page, it says, a concise history of religion. In Israel, building on wisdom sayings traditional to Egypt and Babylonia, we see the growth of the Hebrew wisdom movement that left masterpieces such as Proverbs, the Book of Job, the Wisdom of Solomon, Ecclesiasticus, never heard that one before, and numerous time-honored declarations of a faith in God's feminine wisdom that also questions the grounds of faith, endeavoring to justify both faith and the demands of truth. After Babylonian King Nebuchadnezzar destroys Jerusalem and its temple, with leading Judean families forcibly exiled to Babylonia in 586 BCE, Babylonian thought enters the world of Jewish pundits, while a resigned darkness of pessimism sustains Babylonian thought regarding man's ultimate destiny. Jews resist hopelessness. God's promises must be justified. So saith wisdom. We have hints of this struggle, I think, in the following lines given to Abraham when he protests against God's determination to slay everyone in Sodom and Gomorrah, righteous or not. I didn't read this page before I read it on here. That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked. That be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? Question mark. Genesis 18:25. That great question, shall not the judge of all the earth do right, will echo for centuries through the marrow of Jewry. It is the staff with which Jacob's friends beat him, and when Job cannot understand how he, a man who did all a man could do to be righteous, still finds himself without cause or explanation, hideously stricken by every ill fortune. Life too often seemed to deny the very fruit of wisdom teaching, namely, that if one lived aright, observing the wise path, God's blessings would be displayed. A reward for wisdom, as Solomon received glory for choosing wisdom over riches. The Lost Pillars in Antiquity. And here we have a picture of Cyrus the Great from a relief at his residence, Passagarde. The crown and four wings depict a tutelary deity. Tutelary. Quite interesting picture here. Very interesting, very interesting. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there Okay. Alright. They're telling me to read more, so. Okay. Choosing wisdom over riches. God had made the world, and the world substituted on God's laws. And all but man obeyed the law established for creation. But should man obey, he would find himself one with the laws of life. This was propounded by the wise as the promise of righteous faith. Vindication of God's righteousness was expected in real life and time, as Jews believed it had been with the salvation of Noah and the exodus to the promised land. And more to the point, the wisdom movement had encouraged the idea that the individual, and not only the community, might be justified in faith and granted the good life. And if Enoch, who walked with God, did not suffer the death vouchsafed the fallen Adam, there might be hope in eternity for the righteous. And those who maintained this vivid faith were surely heartened and could glory in faith vindicated when in 539 BCE Cyrus the Great of Persia overthrew the Babylonian Empire and permitted Jews to return to their homeland to rebuild the temple of their God. The wise may have said to the exiles returning, "Did we not tell you so?" God's wisdom is proven on this royal road to freedom. Has not the judge of all the earth done right? Question mark. Alas, far from the glorious prophetic promises that return would lead to a new golden age for those covenanted to Javeh, Jahveh, Javeh. The land of their fathers remained largely unrestored, ruled by Persian satraps, with political independence denied as delay upon delay frustrated completion of Zion's temple. The nation did not recover its former stature, and not surprisingly, while wisdom was respected, a clamor for political and religious liberation was heard for a return of the Davidic line of kingship under God. Ample prophetic tradition existed to justify such a hope. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? Question mark. In 332 BCE, Persian dominance fell to Alexander the Great's forces, and Judea fell to Ptolemy, and then Seleucids, descendants of Alexander's generals. In 167 BCE, Seleucid King Antiochus, having determined to crush the Jews, desecrated Jerusalem's temple, an abomination avenged by campaigning Hasmonean leader Judas Maccabeus. The hammer has in quotations. Well, then. Okay.
Mommy,
now.
I want something to drink in my cup.
Okay.
Get up there. Get up there.